Hi everyone, this is Lexi Crum here, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about film posters, specifically the history, design, and marketability of film posters. Film posters started becoming popular around the turn of the 20th century, which was also a time with high illiteracy, and posters would need to have vibrant pictures and limited amount of words to get the message across to anyone walking by. And it became popular when French artist Jules Cheret, I'm totally butchering names here, introduced a new printing technique which involved a color combination of yellows, reds, and oranges against cool greens and vibrant blues that would produce images with color and texture. Now, the first actual movie poster was designed by Cheret for Projections Artists. Again, totally butchering these names. But the first movie poster was for Le Roseur a Rose, which was designed to promote an individual film, or you say a feature film that depicted an actual scene from a film itself. Now I'm going to go through some of the decades of the film poster, beginning with the 1920s, where these posters were designed traditionally with hand-drawn illustrations over stills that depicted scenes from the movies and had that emphasis on movie stars. The 1930s, which was known as the golden age of movies, and had increasing popularity with the Art Deco movement, also was reflected on their movie posters, and also had a larger faces on posters because people could recognize the famous actors. The 1940s, you start rarely seeing scene depictions anymore, and characters are much more prominent. The 1950s had increased advertising with color photographs, which were designed to be seen from long distances. So the 1960s brought along movies that were teen idols and beach movies that appealed to the baby boomers that were becoming teenagers at the time, and also had more beach and action movies. But the designs stayed very similar to those of the 40s and the 50s. The 1970s brought along increased photography and phasing out painting, but also served as a launchpad for 80s movies with the popularity of Star Wars and Star Trek becoming popular. This is also when poster collecting was starting to become increasingly popular. The 1980s is when the forms became very similar today, where you had very large photographic backgrounds and type and imagery were becoming more balanced within each other. And the 1990s, this is where you see a formulaic approach, where you have a photographic background, slogans at the top, headline actors at the bottom, above the name of the film, near the bottom of the poster. To today, the layout remains much the same, only with a much more minimalistic approach to get us more wanting to see the movie, an increased desire to see what actually happens within this movie with so little detail revealed on the poster itself. So it kind of gives it that mysterious vibe that makes me very fascinated with them. So before I go into more of the analysis of posters, I'd like to mention the teaser campaign, also known as advanced posters, because these are some of my favorite kinds of posters. Teaser campaigns are used to create an early buzz for a new film, usually delivered well in advance, months in advance. They usually have little to no information, hence the term teaser. They may have the release date, maybe actors' names, maybe a small bit of symbolism, as you can see on the examples from the right. There are also a series of advance sheets, such as character advances, which are very popular with the Avengers films because we can all recognize the characters within them, and then the final advance, which come closer to the movie. And of course, films with smaller budgets are less likely to have a teaser campaign. So there are four types of designs to go through. First, there's the curve-based design, which is the easiest way to start. You know how each element should be positioned to communicate the ideas or just make everything flow nicely. The word-based design, you'll see literal interpretations of the key elements in the film. And the metaphor-based design. This is the most artistic, most complex, and one of the most creative ones, where you have an abstract image that might communicate the theme of the film and might take a viewer a couple looks just to understand what's happening in the picture. Kind of like an optical illusion, in a sense. And there is a forklift-based design that's also mentioned as do whatever you want. I didn't have any specific examples for that one, but I just thought I'd mention it. So these are some of the most important design elements to consider when designing a movie poster. Beginning with attention, this is where you want to grab the attention of any passersby that may be walking by the theater or see the movie poster just anywhere. And sometimes these can establish the plot. Iconography, this presents scenes in the film without saying what it's about. Use imagery or a simple graphic, such as the one in Silence of the Lambs. Interest, this is where you want to create incentive. You might want to put the viewer in the middle of the scene, like the Inception poster, and this is where the viewer would have to see the movie to find out what happens. The appeal approach creates desire for the film, so making people, again, want to go see it based on the design of the poster. You also want to have a style that maintains consistent with the film itself. Of course, this means matching up genres, etc. You also want to have a lasting appeal. This is where it looks good on all formats, like the Jurassic Park one, whether it's being released on all sorts of mediums. You want to make sure that also maintains consistent and appeals on all the mediums that you're releasing your movie to. And finally, recognizability, which is most important with sequels. This is where you want to maintain consistency with it, as you can see with the Godfather poster that maintains the same sort of design elements with the font, the dark, brooding theme, of course, that matches the movie. So here are my sources. Well, thank you all for listening to all of my research on movie posters. If you have any sort of questions, please feel free to email me. If not, please enjoy this variety of pictures of me posing near film posters of movies that I've seen throughout the decade. Thank you guys and stay safe.